because otherwise demographics are not on their side, and they're deeply worried that the tide will turn. And it just ends up with a lot of lives being destroyed so they can continue to have power and become more rich. And it's a devastating commentary on where we are as a country.
In today's video, we're looking at explosive claims from Mary Trump, Donald Trump's niece, as she speaks about the Trump family's history, alleging racism within the family and arguing that government assistance helped build the Trump empire. Since these claims come from someone who grew up inside the family, they've sparked plenty of debate. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's watch the full clip first, and afterward I'll break down what was said, examine the bigger picture, and give you my thoughts.
Hi, thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Well, I am Mexican, and this...
I'm sorry. I mean, not that you're Mexican, but that we're so horrible to Mexico right now.
So having these thoughts about Donald Trump, it's really interesting to me, well, because of the context. So I would like to know your psychological perspective about Donald Trump's opinion about immigrants, especially illegal immigrants.
Yeah, thank you. It's deeply troubling. I think it's rooted in the fact that everybody, not everybody, but most of the people in my dad's family were racists. And I mean that they weren't racist. Like practically, you know, most white people in America, particularly growing up in their generation and in mine, are racist. It's just sort of this thing we're raised to be, white people, obviously. But my family were actual racist. It was much more deliberate. Their disdain for and suspicion of and contempt for people of color, women. Homophobia wasn't really in the mix because people didn't talk about that stuff back then so much. But all of that has transferred now to immigrants, and I think part of it is just the racism, but part of it too is just insecurity. Because, and again, this is all happening on a very unconscious level, but Donald knows that certainly my grandfather and he would not have been where they were without massive grants from the government, essentially welfare, you know, government handouts to build their developments. My grandfather received hundreds of millions of dollars from the government so he could get rich. And, you know, I think on some level there's also this understanding that he actually hasn't accomplished anything, and that the work we ask immigrants to do in our country is much harder and more valuable work than he's ever done in his life. And of course, the great irony here is that my great-grandparents, my grandfather's parents, were immigrants from Germany, and my grandfather, Donald's father, was a so-called anchor baby. Like, he was the kind of person Republicans have been complaining about. Oh, their parents just came over here to have a child who would become an American citizen, and therefore they're untouchable. Like, that happened in my family. But now, because it's immigrants, it's people of color who actually do the work, that's not acceptable anymore. And we see this. They're trying to get rid of birthright citizenship, and I think a lot of it is just hatred of the other. It's racism, it's anti-immigrant hostility, and it's demoralizing because we are supposed to have been a country of immigrants, for immigrants, there to you know, give safe harbor to people looking for a better life, and we are the opposite of that now. But it's also just this fear I think people like Donald have, white people like Donald have, especially white men, that they've done nothing to deserve their position, So they have to guard it jealously because otherwise demographics are not on their side, and they're deeply worried that the tide will turn. And it just ends up with a lot of lives being destroyed so they can continue to have power and become more rich. And it's a devastating commentary on where we are as a country.
Look, that was a short clip, but I think it says a lot. Whether you agree with Mary Trump or not, these are serious claims coming from someone who grew up inside the Trump family, and that's why people continue to pay attention to what she has to say. The part that really stands out is immigration. Mary Trump points out what she sees as a contradiction. She argues that the Trump family benefited from immigration in previous generations, yet Donald Trump has built much of his political message around criticizing illegal immigration and pushing for tougher immigration policies. Critics see that as a double standard, while supporters argue that there's a distinction between legal immigration and illegal border crossings. Either way, it's a debate that continues to divide the country. She also raises another issue that doesn't get talked about: enough government assistance. According to Mary Trump, earlier generations of the Trump family benefited from significant government support while building their real estate business. That raises an uncomfortable question. If government backing helped build one family's success, why is government assistance so heavily criticized when it's aimed at helping others? That's the contradiction she's asking people to think about. Then there's the broader history surrounding the Trump family. Over the years, there have been several well-known controversies, including the 1973 housing discrimination lawsuit involving the Trump Organization, and Donald Trump's continued comments about the Central Park Five even after their convictions were overturned. His supporters often reject criticism of those events, while his opponents argue they reveal a consistent pattern. At the end of the day, that's why videos like this generate so much discussion. They force people to look beyond campaign, rallies, and political slogans and ask whether the facts match the message. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you agree with Mary Trump's assessment, or do you think she's completely wrong? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.